All right, so All That Remains, Anti-Fragile is in the spotlight. This is the 10th studio album from the Massachusetts metalcore legends. It is the first since the 2018's disappointing Victim of the New Disease. 7 years later and several lineup changes, we may have just righted this ship finally. The lineup is Phil Labonte on vocals and Mike Martin on rhythm guitar. Matt Deese returns on bass. He was previously with the band from 03 to 05, and he played on the album This Darkened Heart, which is an absolute classic. I think it's Jason's favorite ATR album. Does it top Fall of Ideals for you?
It doesn't top Fall of Ideals, but
okay,
it's a close
so it's second. Okay, same for me. Anthony Barone replaces the departing Jason Costa, who's been with the band since 2006 and for their last 6 albums. Barone was previously with Beneath the Massacre and Shadow of Intent. He's an absolute beast, but not to be outdone. The biggest addition is lead guitarist Jason Richardson, who's been with the band since founding guitarist Ollie Herbert's passing in 2018. But this is the first album he's recorded with All That Remains. It's 10 songs, 43 and a half minutes. Opens with the song Divine, which was also the first single. Phil comes right out of the gate screaming. You have Richardson with the screaming, like pinch harmonic sound coming out of it, and they just immediately let us all know this is a different era. It's heavy again, very Fall of Ideals feeling. Clean chorus comes in with Barone still going into machine gun drums behind it all. Oh, it's not overdone. He does it and he pulls it back, and he does it and he pulls it back, which makes it more impactful. The pinches, riffing, and solo from Richardson are all fantastic, and they put his own stamp on this track. This feels great. Welcome back, All That Remains.
Definitely the beginning of this album is very reminiscent of Fall of Ideals because of the way that it starts out. It's just like you said, it's like immediate. You know, when you get into Fall of Ideals, the calling hits you and it's just immediate screaming.
Yep. We just talked about that track last week or last episode. So
that's what they're doing here. Right away, like they just grab you. Jason Richardson is just fucking going ham throughout this entire song, dude. Like, this guy he's on another level.
He is.
And we're going to talk about him a lot, but he's part of what really stands out in this album.
This new recipe, yes. They follow that up with Kerosene, and they just get right back into it with some nasty riffing and Barone pummeling the drums. Vocal layering is really cool through the verses. There, you hear these like far off screams, but also clean vocals trading off behind the main vocal that Phil's doing. There's an explosive breakdown, which, like, holy shit, Phil has a massive scream into another Richardson solo. I mean, what do you want to say? Another killer track.
Yeah, this is my personal favorite on this album. And
nice.
I have a feeling I know what yours is, and it's probably different than mine. But at one point yesterday, I listened to this track 3 times in a row.
This is fucking great.
And I'm not a guy that I don't like to listen to the same song over and over again, but I couldn't get enough of this one. I love everything about this song, but I especially love the lyrics. They're very fitting for 2024 when everyone's kerosene, every voice stokes the fire, just one missing piece and everyone's made a liar. Nothing will change if we hang to the same simple, trite state of mind. I know that people may differ with Mr. Labonte on political views from time to time, but I feel like this message is one we can all relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And man, just the song is so well done. One of the best choruses I heard in one of their songs in a long time.
Those
probably since Fall of Ideals.
Those lyrics, I was listening to this album on the way here today, and those lyrics hit. I heard them, like it really clicked. I don't have any notes really about the lyrics, so I'm hoping you talk about them a little bit more. But as I was listening to it on the way here, I was picking up more and more of what Phil was having to say throughout this album, and it's dive into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, definitely.
Track 3 is No Tomorrow. I believe this was the 3rd single. Opens again with Richardson doing what he does best. I feel like this is the single we said we didn't originally like, but in the context of the album, it just feels different. It's more slowed down than the previous 2 tracks. It's more of a ballad. It's got a really memorable chorus, but it sounds better in the album than it did as a single.
I agree. And there's something about this opening guitar riff. It's been stuck in my head since yesterday. I'm walking around the house and I'm whistling it. It's just great, man. Like, Jason Richardson is just a beast.
He's a magician on that.
I feel like the guitar work here is something that, like, if Ollie were able to hear it, he would be proud of this.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think it stays very true to the sound that Ollie created. And, then Richardson adds a little bit of his own flair, but not so much that it makes the band sound different.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds like classic ATR.
Yes, it does. The Piper follows. It's ambient noise kind of to open.
Yeah.
Really different. Going into some more Richardson noodling leading into the track. Barone is, again, just crushing it behind the drums. He really stands out throughout this album. Phil has some huge screams mixed into his clean vocal. He's finding a good balance between the two on this album, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, so this one, it took me a couple listens. I didn't dislike it, but this one took a little bit to click for me. Some of the vocal choices didn't click right away, which is a common theme with a lot of ATR stuff. But the music is so compelling that it just doesn't even matter. Like, I was so intrigued by what was going on, especially with the guitar, that I was just locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually the whole song just clicked, and I love it now. It's one of my favorites.
Next track is the title track, and it's a fucking monster, Anti-Fragile. The whole song is cool, but when they get into that breakdown, I start to feel weak-willed vibes. And we get a from Phil. Fuck yeah. Nasty riffing, another clean solo from Richardson and Barone, just killing it. I know I keep mentioning these two, but like the addition of them has completely changed this band back into what they used to be. They've added a lot more heaviness and just interesting things to the album. This is a standout track, must listen to. Everything a title track should be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this was the only, like, if you were going to judge the album by this one track, yeah, this is the one. I mean, it definitely is the heaviest song since The Fall of Ideals, and they've had some heavy songs since then. I mean, there's always heavy songs in the mix with All That Remains, but
was it For We Are Many? Is that the opening track?
I mean, there's a few bangers always
couple like that
on every album, but in general, like, things got kind of stale and they got kind of formulaic and radio rock almost in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, this is everything that those previous ones were not. Great fucking song. We got melodic death metal here, which we haven't heard probably since Fall of Ideals. So Phil doing some vocal tricks that he hadn't pulled out in quite some time.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Forever Cold follows. It's mostly a standard All That Remains ballad with a bouncy, aggressive breakdown leading to more fun Jason Richardson stuff. I dug it.
Yeah, that's another one that I think the thing that we're going to see and probably talk about throughout this album is the pacing is very, very well done. Because this is one of those songs, if you hear it by itself, it's good, doesn't stand out. It works in the context of the album because it's coming right after Anti-Fragile, and it's going right into the next track that we're going to talk about. And the track listing is just perfectly arranged on this album. This is still classic ATR. I mean, for me, classic ATR is Darkened Heart, Fall of Ideals, Overcome. And then after that, things shifted. But so this is more in line with the Overcome sound. But it's right there. It's right there. It's what you want. And just like all the other tracks, like, the guitar is almost hypnotic. You can just lose yourself in this thing and just not even pay attention to what else is going
on. Poison It. Man, this demon riffing throughout this one just takes me back to old school ATR. I like how they pull it back and give you those explosive bursts. It makes it stand out even more when they do it. Barone's been doing it throughout the entire album. He's just a fucking menace behind that kit, and I love it. How this one ends is unexpected, mellowing way out into the piano.
Yeah, absolutely. More melodic death metal vibes on this one. Like you said, with the demon riffing, you know, they're definitely channeling that Gothenburg sound that kind of kicked off this whole metalcore movement, especially in the Northeast. All of those bands were super inspired by what was going on in Gothenburg, Sweden, and you can hear it here, and it's fucking great.
Let You Go is up next. I believe this was the second single, if I remember right.
Sounds about right.
It's bouncy right from the start, almost has an arena rock feel to it. At times, though, Phil's vocals remind me of David Dram of Disturbed, and that's not a good thing. But the track gets much heavier at other times, and Phil gets into a much heavier, more crazy vocal that David could never even touch, so he saves it there. This track will definitely get your head bouncing in the back half.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't pick up on the dreaming things, and I'm sure I am gonna now.
I'm sorry if I ruined the song
Yeah,
for you.
you're
'Cause I
gonna
know you
fuck it
fucking
up
hate
for
it.
me, but so yeah, this was one of the singles, and I had heard it quite a bit. But after the album came out, and I listened to this thing over and over again, this was one of the ones that lyrically really stuck with me. The lyrics here, they're simple, but they're effective, and just very simple sentence. I don't love me enough to let you go. And then he goes on to say, you don't love me enough to let me go.
Yeah.
And I think we can all probably relate to, to that sentence. Definitely more of a ballad, but the band in the background is still bringing all the heat. So you're going to get heartbroken and you're going to get your face melted all at the same time.
Definitely. Cut their tongues out. Doesn't even feel like an All That Remains track. It's got this beat down, stank face, fuck you attitude about it, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Low and slow, baby. Low and slow. That's all I got to say on that one.
They close it out with Blood and Stone, the build into this, and then the screechy, almost scat screams from Phil were really fucking cool. What year is this again? Because he's taking it back right now. I'm at a loss of what else to say about this album. The fade out with the peaceful piano. What a closer. I will warn you, if you have your streaming set to repeat, so it starts the album over, it's pretty fucking jarring. This going back into Divine. It'll fucking scare you if you're not paying attention because it mellows out so much at the end.
With the piano,
and then Phil's just screaming at Divine. So
yeah, I really like this. They kind of faked us out with the piano, which I really enjoyed the piano even in the beginning of the song. But it sets you up thinking that you're about to get a ballad to close this thing out.
And you don't.
And then they go in hard and heavy. And they just fucking beat the shit out of you. And then they play the piano at the end to make you feel better. Like, hey, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. So, overall, man, All That Remains has been a very hit or miss for me since the Overcome album. Like I said, they've always had a few bangers on each album. Like there's songs I have on playlists.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since I've really been able to digest a full album from them with no skips. This album for me has no skips. Every song has its own identity, and Jason had so much flair to the songs that musically, it's just some of the most well-composed songs in the ATR discography. And that's not a knock on Ollie because he's a fucking beast. But I think what Jason does here does justice to the legacy that Ollie has already built. There's not a boring moment on this album for me, largely due to Jason Richardson's guitar playing. This album's been on repeat since it dropped. And based on that, I think this is my first 6 upside down pentagrams of 2025.
A 6. Nice.
It's a 6.
Kind of echo what you said. It's been a long time since I really enjoyed an entire All That Remains album. But I think they found something with this lineup. They mixed the clean, catchy choruses with some of the heaviest music they've ever put out. There's something for every era of fan of this band on this album, though. Ballads, pit spinners, nasty riffing, big breakdowns, incredible solos, gut-wrenching screams, and it's still lyrically deep, which is something I didn't mention throughout the review very much. It's something I'm more recently just picking up on in the last few listens as I get into it a little bit deeper. This is an incredible album that fits right in after This Darkened Heart and The Fall of Ideals. Easily a top 3 All That Remains album for me. I've been waiting 19 fucking years for this band to give me this album, so I give AntiFragile, it's a 5.5 out of 6. I almost gave it a 6, but when he started to remind me of David Graham and Let You Feel, it just pulled it back just a little bit. And I also think, even though the pacing's really good, there might be one too many ballads on the album.
Yeah.
Because as I'm listening to it more and more, it's not that those songs are bad, but I'm wanting to kind of skip forward and get to the heavy stuff. And I still like these other songs a lot, so I'm not skipping them. But like that heavy stuff has got me like, yes, here's the All That Remains. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're never going to make another Fall of Ideals.
No.
It's just, that's a perfect album, and that's a once in a lifetime thing. But
this is amazing though.
Yeah.
Like this is God.
It's up there with their best albums.
We had Paleface this year. We got All That Remains. You mentioned the Halo Effect, and we've mentioned a lot of other albums coming. This is going to be
it's only February. It's only February.
Yeah, we're recording this February 1st, day after the album came out. So All That Remains, AntiFragile. Go check that shit out.